What is up? I'm Zach Pfeiffer, and this is your recap of Survivor 46, Episode 10, Run the Red Lights. And y'all, okay, I was really not enjoying this pre-merge of the season. It was so boring. The episode 2, 3, 4 was just ugh. But this post-merge game has been electric. To have 4 blindsides in a row, just people just completely unexpecting it. 2 people in a row sent home with idols in their pocket. It's been iconic. And the most iconic thing has very little to do with the game itself. It's actually a result of a reward, and we'll talk all about it in all the Applebee's coming up. So let's dive into this episode. I thought that this episode teetered on 2 people, Liz and Maria. And Liz has secured a spot in my heart. I know she started the season off bragging about money and being really egotistical, but she's a queen. Let me tell you what. Top 5 moments, honestly. This reward outburst that she had against Q, it's unlike anything I've ever seen on the show. There's been a lot of outbursts. There's been a lot of things where you're like, oh my God. Shatia throwing the rice on the fire, sinking the shoes, burning the shoes, burning Russell's hat. There's been a lot of moments where you're like, this is good television. But having Liz break in half like that and just yell at Q for so long is by far one of the best things I've ever seen on TV. I loved it. I loved it so much. And if you're watching without commercials, how many of y'all had an Applebee's commercial right after that? Yeah. I was broken. I didn't know if I wanted to cry or cackle or both, which I think I ultimately did was both. Incredible. Liz is on this trajectory right now where she seems to be being left in the dust. And I'm curious if this is gonna come out on top for her, because I don't see her being targeted. She seems so well insulated, and there's so many other big threats to take care of right now, that I think Liz has a trajectory to the end game, and if she plays her cards right, maybe she could win this. Who knows? The other thing we should be keeping an eye out is Maria. So when we get back from Tribal Council, everyone is talking about the Hunter vote, what they think happened, if he had an idol or not. And Q's off by himself. He's been sleeping on this boat away from everyone else because he's like the pariah of camp, Pepperdaya of camp. And Maria goes over to talk to him, and there's a point where they're all like, where's Maria? And they're like, oh, talking to Q. And so Maria's doing this thing now where no one else is giving Q the time of day because he's the Pepperdaya. And Maria is, okay? So just log that there. And then later, let's quickly go through immunity challenge. It was fine. I really wanted Tiff to win for obvious reasons. It was very close. But Charlie wins a second immunity in the row. And here's where I see the Sega 2, Maria and Charlie's game starting to reveal itself. If they can keep it together, this game is theirs. But it's Final 7, y'all. And Maria's doing this thing where she is very publicly running the game, especially after this vote. She's the only one giving Q the time of day, which is an emotional move, but it's also strategical. But also he's so far on the bottom that it's very clear that Maria's I'm going to use you for a number. Charlie, on the other hand, has won 2 immunities in a row, and that does not go unnoticed. Also, having his number 1 being Maria is very much more becoming obvious to everyone else, because Ben is just kind of floating. And if any of the 3 were to defect, it would be Ben to Kenzie. You know what I mean? So, this vote is really interesting to me because it was a question of, do we go for the easy Q vote, or do we try to take out this person who has an idol in her pocket? And ultimately, strategically, I do think they made the right move taking Tiff out, but Kenzie comes up to them and is like, I don't think this is the right time to do this. And she wanted it to be her move. Last episode, she was like, this is going to be my move. And Maria takes it from her. And so Kenzie knows Maria did this. You know what I mean? So you have this breakdown now that we get to Tribal Council. Tiffany does not play her idol. And the vote is 3-5. 3Q, 5 on Tiff, sending Tiff home. And that's the Siga 3 plus Liz and Q, leaving Tiff and Kenzie and Venus on the outs. I think going back to camp after this move, there is going to be a huge shift in how everyone's functioning with each other. We now have this like breakdown where Kenzie's going to be gobsmacked, and she's going to realize that she cannot really trust Marie and Charlie anymore because they are very much after their own games. They're defending themselves and taking out big threats that they see in their way. And it's only a matter of time until Kenzie's like, well, they're going to come for me next. So I think Kenzie is going to rope in Venus and, oh God, I don't know if she can do anything with Q at this point. But I think it would be in their best interest to turn the tides on Maria at this point. Like, Maria has a great resume. I think she's poised to win at this point. And if she gets to the final tribal council, like, I think she would win. So this is going to be an end game now deciding of, like, these like, stragglers, if you will. And there's been so much drama and tension this season. It's curious to see if that's even going to make a difference because, like, I think that's why Tiffany didn't play her idol. I think that's why Hunter didn't play his idol. They thought that Q was such a good like target that there was no way that they needed to play their idol when they did. But as we saw, that's a big mistake in both of their games. And so that's the third idol voted out of the game in the pocket of a player, which is just really upsetting. Yeah, wild episode, y'all. Wild episode. I'm trying to think if there's anything I really missed between Tiffany in my book is a great player. It's so sad to see her go. I wish that she went a little bit further so her edit would have been a little bit stronger. I feel like the editors were trying to decide whether they wanted to give more screen time to Kenzie or Tiff since their games were so similar, and Kenzie seems to be getting the better edit. But even in the lesser edit that Tiffany got, she was iconic, and I loved her. I would love for her to come back. And looking at like the scoreboard right now, Charlie and Maria definitely have the most moves under their belt. They both have a really good shot of winning this game. And then you have Ben, who, even if he got to the final tribal council, I do not think he could win. And then you have Kenzie. Kenzie hasn't really done much, but she could, depending who she's sitting with, she could do well in final tribal council, I think. And then you have Venus, who, yeah, you could spin a narrative of working on the bottom and getting by and being the last Nami, but she's gonna have to step up her game to, win this as well. Q, okay, here's the Q debate. Everyone's talking about how Q couldn't win, Q can't win, but honestly, I think if Q can get to the end, Q could win, like more than like Ben at this point. And then you have Liz, and Liz is like, no, she hasn't been on the right side of every vote, but she has been a vital swing vote that has decided many of these votes. So, like, I can see a world where Liz gets to the end and just argues that, and then also argues about, like, I did this, and it was 3 times as hard for me than any of you because I couldn't eat the entire time, and I still made it to the end. And those are our 7. I think I said all 7. Oh, we're at the final 7 already. That means we have, like, 3 more episodes this season and we'll have a new winner, which is insane. It's flown by. Well, the second half has flown by, I'll say that. Gosh. So who's going home next week? I've been wrong, I think, every single week this year. I have no idea, no pulse of who's going to go home. Even with these 90-minute episodes, I have no idea. So, I don't know. Who's going to go home? I could say Q again, because I've been saying Q for the last 4 weeks, so maybe Q will go. Venus is on the bottom, and maybe it's in Maria and Charlie's best interest to get rid of these stragglers, ones that are flipping and flopping, because they know that they could be their downfall. Kenzie could have a weird reaction, and Kenzie could go next week. Honestly, it could go any direction. Let's talk about the people I don't think are going to go home. I don't think Liz is going home. I don't think Charlie is going home. I don't think... Oof. All right. Watch Q go home, because I'm not going to say Q this week. Wild, right? I think it's our Queen Venus's time to go. And I'll say this, because I think if the Sega 3 are still working together, they're going to want to get rid of Kenzie and Venus next. So, Ben can work with Kenzie. None of them can work with Venus. She's proved time and time again that she's not trustworthy, and Maria had that talk earlier in the season with her. So I think that if they're going to have their way, Venus is probably going to go. So I'm going to say Venus. Also, the previews show that there is quite the large idol hunt. So someone could have an idol, and we could really shake up the game. Who knows? It's Survivor 46, which is probably one of the most unpredictable seasons I've watched in the new era. And all I'm going to say now is I really want a bourbon burger. I want a bourbon burger from Applebee's with a Dollarita. Oh, God. Oh. I'm going to add like a thing at the end of this that Drop Your Buffs did of Liz.
Liz, do you feel comfortable talking about what you're feeling?
That's it. I love Survivor, y'all. This is amazing. That's all I got for you this week. We'll chat more next week with episode 11. I hope you keep on surviving, y'all. Talk soon. Mwah.